Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today we'll dive into a very exciting topic, CLO Priorities 2026, Balancing Performance, People, Purpose, and Technology. This session is eligible for HRCI, SHRM, and ATB Professional Development credits. Please meet today's panel. A huge shout out to today's webinar sponsor, Liberate.
Thanks so much, Ivy. It's great to be here. My name is Julia Zook, and I am the Senior Vice President of Enterprise Sales for Liberate. And we have some exciting news. Thanks, everyone, for joining, first and foremost. Exciting news about our branding. We have changed our name, and we are now Liberate across the globe. Very exciting. I wanted to just quickly take a couple of minutes to share with you the history behind who we are and why we changed our name. So, that being said, we started our journey way back in 1991. Well, we've actually been around for 55 years as a parent company of Managed Print Services, MPS. And we're now, today, just actually last week, branded to Liberate because of the acquisition and the journey that we've been on. So myself being a Tata Interactive employee was an acquisition that happened in 1991, and we're thrilled to have acquired many other amazing, diverse learning services companies along the way. Now, unfortunately, what happened was that we were children of many, many parents, and so what we've done is decided to brand with one name for everybody so that there isn't any confusion about who we are, and that is Liberate. So thank you very much for spending the time with us today, and we're thrilled to service and work with our client partners across the globe under the Liberate brand. And the tagline, which I'd like to claim as mine because I did think about it a couple of months ago, was to liberate the freedom to learn for our client partners. So we're thrilled to be here. Thanks very much, Michael and Brandon Hall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you to Liberate again for sponsoring today's webinar.
Thanks, Julia. Pleasure to have you.
Now, before we dive into today's content, let me tell you about Brennan Hall Group and some incredible opportunities that could accelerate your career. Brennan Hall Group is a leading professional development firm that has been serving learning, talent, and HR executives worldwide for more than 30 years. We've advanced the growth and performance of millions of employees and leaders through our cloud-based platform, delivering evidence-based research, data, and certification programs that empower organizations to achieve excellence in every area of human capital management. Our impact spans more than 10 million of employees and executives globally, supported by our comprehensive research library, strategic insights, and prestigious awards program. Below is a sample of the organizations we are proud to partner with. We have incredible learning and networking opportunities, our two BRIC events happening this year, our AI Summit on October 15th, and our Leadership Summit on November 17th and 18th of 2026. And don't forget to save the date for next year's 2027 HCM Excellence Conference happening January 26th through 28th. All details for everything I've mentioned will be available in a PDF you'll receive within 24 hours after the webinar. Now, based off everything I just went over, I would like to launch a poll and know what you would like to learn more about. Is it our institute, maybe our awards program, the 2027 HCM Excellence Conference, or maybe it's our BRIC summits? I will leave this up for a few more seconds. Alrighty, thank you everyone. And Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you for our next poll.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I know folks are still joining now. Want to just mention, please ask questions in the chat. You got some incredibly cool experts online with you today, ready to answer any questions that you have, top of mind, share their thoughts and opinions, and help you with your journey as you move through like a very exciting time when it comes to looking at the priorities that a chief learning officer may have. We'd like you to answer this poll. It just helps our panelists to understand our audience as well as when you look at where you are in your learning and development journey, what phase do you think you're in? Are you in that kind of reactive, ad hoc, trying to still figure it all out, playing defense, more offense? Do you feel like you're standardizing things, getting things organized, creating good process and procedures? Strategic being, really becoming a business partner and aligned to business objectives, and optimize being best in class, can't be doing it any better, think that we're getting everything done that we need to get done. Great understanding of people, process, and technology. So we'll just give you a couple seconds to let us know what phase you think you fall into, and then we'll share the results with the audience and our panelists. Okay, so based on our research, this is almost a carbon copy footprint of where people answered when we actually reached out and did interviews and created survey data around this. So pretty good distribution. Most people sitting in that standard and strategic level, kind of working through getting to that next level of really being able to create the maximum impact with their learning organization. So thanks for answering that. And if anyone has any additional thoughts or ideas or want to share a little bit more about their answers, please drop it into the chat.
Thank you,
Okay.
Michael. I know everyone's eager to get to the content, but I just have a few quick things to know. If you have any questions during the webinar, please use the questions panel on your control bar. We'll be answering them throughout the session. And we're also recording today's webinar, and you'll receive an email within 24 hours with a link to the recording and a PDF of the slides. Now, one more thing, we are excited to share that at the end of today's webinar, we will be selecting one lucky raffle winner to win a complimentary submission to our Excellence in Action program. Stay tuned to see if you are the lucky winner. You must be present to win. Now, I would like to pass things off to Michael Rochelle.
Okay. So we'd like to share with you a little bit about what we've learned and where we see things are. What is the true state of learning and development? So we're just going to hit you with some quick stats. But again, feel free to offer your points of view, what's important, what's going on within your organization. Love to be able to interact with that. So right now, we see about 42% of organizations saying that they have a strong alignment between their learning initiatives and business goals. Obviously, that should be 100%, so we still have a long ways to go, but it is slowly getting better as organizations are getting a chance to figure out what is the business impact, business case ROI of learning and development. More and more organizations realize that they have to link actual business goals to learning outcomes and attach learning outcomes to business goals. Okay, so what else did we learn from our research? 30% of organizations measure results on the Kirkpatrick scale. Some people may have different opinions about Kirkpatrick. The main reason why there's a much lower percentage of people using it is we're beginning to see that we need a model that allows us to connect learning metrics to business outcomes, to be able to have more sophisticated approaches to tying what are the performance impact I'm having based on the learning that I'm providing, with the caveat being that learning is no longer the outcome, business performance, individual and team performances. Also, for many of you out there that use Kirkpatrick, I'm certified in Kirkpatrick. It's still a challenge to get from that level 2 to level 3 behavior and then level 4 performance change, or even level 5, which is that business case ROI. So organizations are kind of branching out to say, are there different models I can be using to get a more 1/1 measurement of their learning impact? Everyone wants to know about organizational constraints. I have to tell you, it was a horse race, photo finish on all three of these. They're only separated by a percentage point or two, but time, resources, and budgets were one, two, and three, respectively, as far as organizational constraints for learning and development to really be able to do what it wants to do and be able to self-actualize. So what we'd like to know, and I'm going to have the panelists weigh in this time, is what do you consider is the biggest barrier for you? So we'll give you a couple moments to answer. Karen's saying time for me. I think a lot of people would be doing some serious head nodding if they could show their heads that time is probably the single biggest constraint. Okay, let's see what folks said. So it's pretty interesting. So we got an even split between no clear data measurement framework, learning is too disconnected from business goals. So that reflects on what we just talked about, not having the right tools and lack of stakeholder buy-in. I'm going to turn it over to the panel of experts here. Anyone who want to jump in and offer commentary? Does this surprise you? Is it align with what you would think you would see from the poll results?
Yeah, can I just jump in here? No, I'm not surprised at all, Michael. I think proving the business impact of learning has been a challenge for L&D leaders for many, many years now. And all these are real problems. So we are all searching for that answer. And in TCS, we do have some, approaches that we are following. We are also building this Kirkpatrick framework into our learning platform. So that is one way of perhaps looking at, how to actually get the measurement and also not measuring everything. That is also something that we believe in, that you don't have to measure everything. Identify your flagship programs, identify the ones that are really critical to business, and then find out how you can measure it better.
You know what,
Excellent.
Michael? I'll add to Pushali's comment. First, thank you for having me here today. But I also am not surprised by the results. But where I would lean in is around the option B, lack of stakeholder buy-in. For us, we're not necessarily observing a lack of stakeholder buy-in, but we're observing a lack of like the space needed to integrate learning in a meaningful way. So it's interesting actually, because I think our stakeholders and leaders really understand the value of learning, and it is often one of the first solutions to recommend like we need more learning, we need more skill development, and of course that'll be the answer to the challenges that we're facing. But I think there's an opportunity for us to consider how do we make space for integrating that learning and the timing of it, and really ensure that it is a strategic imperative that balances the other objectives of the business. So there's like definitely a call to action around learning, but the space needed to actually leverage that learning, I think is an observation we share.
I'm going to throw it out to the group. Good question asked by Nick. He said, since time is the biggest constraint, how should CLOs prioritize between short-term performance needs and long-term capability building? Great question.
I mean, I think it's an and not an or, right? If you have immediate need, cool. By all means, you've got to get going on that. But then how do you bake that in to a longer term, strategy of skill application, embedment, development? I think too often what ends up happening is that we do those sort of quick things and then we're pulled into the next quick thing and the next quick thing. So how do we think about sort of, because the reality is there is a strategy and that quick thing does fit in somewhere. It's just taking that time to create the framework, to create the story that helps both leaders and learners understand where does this skill fit, either in sort of the ecosystem of my role or the ecosystem of the goals that we're trying to achieve or my development. And I think when we start creating some of those narrative threads, it helps us move from what appears to be sort of a drop and run and into, maybe a prioritized approach, but to something bigger.
Love
Easier
that.
said than done, I admit.
Love that, Alexandra. Thank you. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so we're going to have our first roundtable discussion where we're going to be talking about performance and people. So let's bring up the panelists and let me ask a couple of questions. So I'm going to start with you, Alexandra. Good segue. So Kraft Heinz, it's a global business operating at serious scale for sure. What does connecting learning and development to a business outcome look like for you right now? And could you share an example or story?
Sure. And let me start again by saying thank you for having me, and what an awesome group of minds together on this call. Look, I think we're all learning and growing in this area. Like, it would be the ultimate hubris of me to sit here and sort of say, like, I have it all figured out and here's a perfectly gift wrap package. The reality is this is evolving. Whether you're in an organization with really deep maturity in this space or whether you're sort of brand new, take comfort in knowing that this is a space that is evolving, and it's evolving very fast, just like everything else in our world. So what I want to do is share less about here's a solution and more of an insight into our journey and sort of how it pertains. And I'm super grateful that my camera on this computer is not high def, because my journey has resulted in lots of learning, which, as many of you know, also contributes to gray hair and wisdom lines and all of those. So I've earned some of those stripes, right? But I think what I have learned is that I've come to see that connecting L&D to a business outcome starts with actually bifurcating the measures that we are talking about, right? There are certain measures of learning success that we care about as learning designers because they're signals of quality, they're signals of efficacy, and so on. Those are super important, but they're not necessarily the same as the measures that we want to be looking to that indicate business impact. And I think where we sometimes go awry is that we conflate the two. And when we're talking to a leader, we're not clear about how they're different. And then we sometimes maybe even lose their attention because they're hearing us talk about measures like completion, satisfaction, confidence. Those are critical, but do they answer the question for the business leader of how did performance improve, right? How are we moving the needle? So what we need to think about when we're communicating with anyone else outside of our bubble is really, how do we articulate that difference? And how do we make sure that we are not just simply talking about learning strategy? One thing that we've done of late is really take a more holistic capability view, total capability view, which is to say learning is a part of that, but there are also inroads that need to be made in terms of ways of working, data, process, other people related activities. And when we bring those, different levers together, we start to be able to build a much more impactful story to leadership about how we're moving things forward. Because the traditional sort of silver bullet of L&D is that we're brought in to teach a new skill, but when the employee goes back, if the ways of working haven't evolved, if the data is not available to them, that's when, or the technology isn't there, that's when we start to see the impact waning. So when we put it all together, and we don't do this for every single program, of course, but when we put it all together, we start being able to agree upfront on what success looks like, and we can start talking about all the contributing factors that are coming together rather than trying to isolate one thing or another. And if a leader is interested in the, metrics around sort of the insider baseball that we're looking at, great, we'll show you. But we're going to lead off with how we're moving the needle as a team across a number of different initiatives.
Love that answer. And, just a follow up to that question, when a business leader pushes back on this whole concept, this investment idea, what's the argument that actually lands? How do you defend that position?
I'm so lucky in that it's rare that I'm in a position where I have to sort of fight for my proverbial seat, right? I work with leaders that are incredibly smart and incredibly aware of the importance, almost sometimes to the point where we're the ones saying, okay, let's try to phase this or pace it, right? So there is no lack of interest in what we do or recognition of the importance. But from time to time, we might have a disagreement on the right approach, right? The methodology, the design, the phasing, whatever the case may be. And I think the first thing that's critical is that we can't be going into those conversations cold. We have to have been building a relationship long before that. And we do that by immersing ourselves in the strategy, understanding what that function is trying to do. What's keeping that leader up at night? Because when we can speak to them in their language, again, moving out of L&D language and into the language that matters to them, we start to see almost immediately a different conversation starting to flourish, right? We want to talk about what are their must wins, how we're going to get there, that's us. We'll figure that out. But let's make sure that they know that we get it. We know what it is that they are trying to accomplish. Make that connection explicit, right? What are the KPIs that they're after? How do we talk about those? And I think, again, when we bring that sort of holistic capability picture, it also strengthens that strategic partnership, that they understand that we understand all the different components that can come together to enable that change or that performance at pace, at speed. And if we sense reticence, okay, let's go with a low risk path, right? The word pilot covers a multitude of sins, as it were, buys you a lot of time. But generally, the pushback fades, right? When we move from talking about things like, completion numbers to, time to impact or risk reduction or measurable performance. That is truly where we start to move into really more of a partnership model versus sort of here's what we think and then a negotiation order taking kind of role.
Any thoughts from the panel?
I think
Yeah,
Alexandra and I are, go ahead, Poushali.
No, please go ahead, Adonica.
I think we're all vibing off of each other really well. I think what you said with regard to relationship building as a chief learning officer is so critical. When we think about what are we teaching with regard to learning and skill development, it is advancing the goals of our business, right? We're not just teaching learning just for the sake of learning. It's really underpinning what does our business need our people to learn and understanding and making and connecting the dots for those strategic leaders to this will be a strategic lever to advance your strategy, unlocks that real partnership that then it opens those doors where they then of course agree, yes, we need to make space for this because you're going to help me accomplish what I want to do.
Yeah, so totally resonate with what Alexandra said, but I just want to talk about another thing, which is that often business leaders come to L&D or talent development, as we call it, with any problem. So anything has gone wrong, so throw a training at it, right? So one of the things that we do at the beginning, the engagement that Alexandra talked about is to ask that whether really training is the answer to this. Because if training is not going to be the right solution for your problem, then obviously I will never, meet the business requirement. So that is, I think, the other side of the story, where training is not the solution for everything. And we need to be very clear about that.
Well, and I'll just add one final thought there. I couldn't agree more. And I think as we become stronger partners to the business, what that looks like is sort of less of, nah, that's not us, that's not training. And not that any of us would do that, but really then showing up with that business partner mindset to say, I still understand that you have a problem to solve. Leveraging my network, leveraging what I understand about the business, let me help you get connected in to whatever the unlock is going to be. The leader then hears yes and, they don't hear no or no but. It also means that we're not compromising and throwing learning at every problem, but we're helping the leader see our strategic application while also not sort of slowing them down or making them feel like we're not able to deliver. So it's definitely nuance. It's not easy. And to be clear, measures of any kind are great. I just want us to be clear about what the measures are and what they speak to, right? Because I think where the credibility is lost sometimes is when we try to stretch a certain kind of measure to sort of imply that it covers all kinds of things. Let's just be clear. Let's speak the language of our leadership team and recognize that this is by no means easy.
Okay, Kelly. Good question for you. VML is completely different kind of business.
Mhm.
Does what Alexandra say resonate, or does it create a creative workforce change the equation? How does that work within your organization?
Sure. And by the way, thank you also for having me. What Alexander said absolutely resonates with me, but I want to put it in context with relation to the kind of business that we are. So at VML, we've actually measured what it costs to have people in a 100% billable environment to take training. So if I, for example, I'll tell you a small story. Last year, I asked Claude, so the AI LLM, I asked Claude, what was the biggest impact that I had on VML last year? And Claude told me that it was the biggest impact that I personally had was when Eric Campbell, the CEO of North America, dedicated 2 hours of billable time to everyone taking a training called Open Every Day, which was an AI simulation and microlearning series. So what my response was, Claude, my name is not Eric Campbell. Not sure what you may have taken away from previous conversations, but what does that have to do with me? And he said that, if you think about 100% billable environment, that you could do something that would persuade a leader to give 2 hours of that time up, then what you're doing has business value. And so just to give you a concrete number to wrap your mind around, that 2 hours is $2.8 million of an investment to training. So it's not just, I saw Becky's comment in the chat about, new business, like business acumen and language are the new skills that we have to learn. But I think it also goes beyond language. It's not just language. It's thinking in that way. It's thinking about what are we asking people to invest? And so that is a completely different, in some ways, way than I had ever learned to speak in my coming up. Before it was about being dynamic and being funny and affable and being able to order the good coffee. But now it's a completely different understanding of what my responsibility is, and I take that responsibility really seriously within a creative environment, because people, when you're working with people who are building Super Bowl ads, and coming up with the give me a break jingle. What you're dealing with is a completely different idea of what you're responsible for in terms of the kinds of content that you are responsible for creating, the kinds of time, what it costs in terms of someone's creative load. So I would say that yes, it absolutely resonated. Also, I would say it creates a different person in in my career. I'm a different person here than I've ever been before.
Just a follow-up to that, Kelly, what's the one people challenge that learning and development generally can't solve? And how do you hold that line?
Sure. And I liked really, I think that Poushali said it really well earlier about there's some things that L&D absolutely cannot help you with. I think that the one thing that I would say is that when someone says to me, I want you to teach my people how to be curious. And I would say, you have to hire for that. I can help you teach techniques to make people appear empathetic. I can help you teach techniques to be more creative. But I can't teach people a framework for how to listen and intuit and feel and be interested in what the next question should be. So if people aren't interested in other people, I can't help with that. But I can help you with anything else.
Love that. So, Julia, let's wrap up this section. You work a lot with organizations on exactly this. Is what you're hearing consistent with what you see? Or is there a
Yes,
gap
Michael,
between aspiration and reality?
absolutely. I do feel that it's consistent. However, we are one of the oldest learning services companies, and we have never said we're masters of none, right? So we are agnostic to industry. So we do get a great cross section and historical account of, who's doing what and where. But the fact that people, are try to achieve some kind of aspiration That's one thing, that's great. Thank you. Try. Because, our world has historically, we've witnessed a lot of order takers, and that's when we jump in because there's just too much, and we have to. We're the outsourced partner that can get them there really fast, really quickly, and hopefully achieve their learning objectives. But we do see this across the spectrum. So I do really feel that what Poushali and Alexandra and Kelly have stated are really bang on as to what we are witnessing in the workplace across all business units globally. So and all industries. So yeah, but great conversation. Thank you, ladies.
Okay. So we're going to try something interesting. Going to do a rapid fire round. So let's bring the panelists back in. I'm going to ask the audience to do the same thing. I'm going to ask a series of questions, and I'm going to give the two answers, and then everyone that wants on the panel has to be able to say what their answer is, and let's see how close we get. So here we go. Are we ready? And for the audience, you can just drop in your answers in the chat. So AI and learning, hype or hope? Ready, go.
Sorry. Hope.
Okay. Let's see what the audience said. Everyone's leaning in on hope. That's good to see. Oops, I got yep, pretty much hope. Okay. Let's try another one. Right now, which matters more is skills or culture? Go.
Culture.
Culture.
I think that was a unanimous. Looks like where the audience is resonating with that as well. Okay, so we're 100% in alignment. This is pretty cool. Okay, here we go. Here's a tougher one. Learning and development's biggest mistake in 2026 is too much content or too little courage.
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 Okay, this is interesting. We've got a little bit of a mix. Yep, there was some content in there, too much content, but most of the folks are weighing in on too little courage. Okay, here's another one. This one is probably a no-brainer. This is a slam dunk, right? Learning in the flow of work is the future or a myth?
Future.
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 Yeah, that was like a softball pitch, wasn't it? That was too easy. We should have made a tougher one. Oh, there are some folks saying that it's
I
a
want
big
to be
myth.
contrary. Michael, I want to elicit a
A
reaction.
contrarian. Let's go,
For
Alexandra.
fun,
Good for
just
you.
for fun.
Okay.
Is it a myth? Is it future? I think it's separating two things that I don't actually think about separately. Learning is the work. Learning is the work. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to combat is this idea that whether it's in the flow or adjacent or around the corner, like it's seen as some separate activity that then therefore needs to be scheduled and we have to find time and it takes us away from what we need to do. I'm wondering if it's really more of a mindset and that learning is the work. And if we embrace that methodology, by definition, it will come in the flow. But by definition, we change our relationship to it, which is to say it's part of the job. We've got to be doing it. And we do it in our day-to-day lives outside of work, right? Anytime you take a new recipe or you learn something new, right? We're not looking at that as like, oh, I have to schedule time to go and learning is life, right? And this is where I just get so excited and where I think we have an opportunity to challenge the narrative. Learning is the work.
Love it.
Okay. I'm
Because
in.
I would just like to weigh in on that. It also depends, I think, from organization to organization. So the understanding of learning in the flow of work. So I'm also somewhere in between. I can't say myth or future, but somewhere on the borderline. What do we understand by? I totally agree with Alexandra that if we don't learn, then we can't work, right? So, but what is the understanding of learning in the flow of work? Is it the definition that we have been given, and do we all understand how that is being applied in our companies? That is, I think, the question that we need to ask.
I'll add, Michael, you've got us going here on this provocative strain that gets the people going, right? I think that It's interesting you say that, Alexandra and Poushali, because we've had a number of experiences internally at Aptiv around measuring learning. And it's been an interesting journey with regard to trying to just capture measurement of learning. And my position has grown in this space where I really feel like I'm not quite sure what the value is of measuring learning hours, to be controversial and honest, because that's not really the unlock of insight. The insight is whether you commanded the skill, whether that helped you to do something better. And to Alexandra's point, we are constantly learning. So we started to try to categorize, is it a learning course versus are you attending a webinar versus did you listen to a podcast? Did you read an article? All of these things are learning, right? So that integration of learning and connecting it to outcomes, I think is where we really need to focus on as a community.
That is chef's kiss because I think that the reality is we still sometimes subscribe to a more traditional mindset that learning happens in a classroom during dedicated time. You have to commit X amount of time. That's true. And that's awesome. And of course, we want to keep doing that. And if you go to a meeting and learn a new way of presenting information, if you read an article, if you listen to a leader talk and absorb some of what they're like, all of that is learning. And until we help people understand that learning is happening all the time and that we are sort of architects of experience, but they are essentially the captains of their own sort of journey, I think we're going to continue to sit in that mindset that learning are these sort of take you out of the job moments. Those will continue, but learning is happening all the time. I'm learning right now. I'm going to learn before this. I'm going to learn after this. And so how do we recognize and reward learning that doesn't necessarily come with a certificate at the end? Because so much of our mindset and our ways of working from being children are, associated with that certificate. How do we give ourselves the pat on the back when the learning is happening all the time? It's a mindset shift.
Okay, one more, and we're just going to weigh in on the answer, and then we're going to keep going. Purpose in learning and development is non-negotiable or nice to have. Ready, go.
Non-negotiable.
Let's see how yep. Yeah, it's pretty overwhelmingly non-negotiable. I don't think I would want to admit it was nice to have. It better be non-negotiable, right? Purposeful learning and development. Okay, just want to give you a round of applause for going through that rapid fire round, and thanks. The audience was incredibly interactive. Got well over 100 responses on those answers, so keep them coming. Okay, let's go into our second roundtable discussion. We're going to talk about purpose and technology. And this time I'm going to open up to Poushali. TCS operates at extraordinary scale. Where is technology genuinely changing how your people learn, and where is the hype outrunning the reality?
So, Michael, thanks for having me rather late in the webinar. But I'm going to say something maybe slightly counterintuitive. Yes, we are a technology company and we use a lot of technology in learning. But I feel that it is not just technology which is making the difference. I think it's a great, uh, combination of technology and human motivation and human interventions, right? So let me talk about the technology since the question is about that. So what we have in TCS, and I've seen many organizations, we have a fantastic unified ecosystem of training, right? So we have this training platform called iEvolve, and you can learn just about anything over there, from a spoken language like Spanish to computer language. You can learn just about anything, and it not always has to be about your work. So it's a great ecosystem that we have, and obviously, since everything is happening over there, the data is also all consolidated over there. Your competencies are there, so kind of, it's a unified ecosystem, right? So that is the central technology that we have, which is kind of helping the 600,000 people in 58 countries to learn in a standardized manner, right? Because when we have a learning initiative in TCS, everybody has to jump in and everybody has to do it. So that is how we are doing it. And I think we've been pretty successful in doing it also. When it comes to AI upskilling, I think, and not just AI, I think any digital skill for that matter, we have this learn practice kind of approach where we have sandbox environments. And after you learn, you go through a sort of sandbox kind of experience so that you can actually experience and actually practice in a safe environment. And then you get some, certain mini projects to work in so that, before you actually get assigned to a project, you are already sort of warmed up. Right. The next thing that I would like to talk about is that we do a lot of gamification. So I think this is very important in a company with scale like ours. So anything that you do on iEvolve leads to credits, leads to points, which you can then redeem in the real world, right? So it's like getting an Amazon voucher or something, you can redeem it like that. So that definitely motivates people. And the other part is, of course, we have this concept of the T factor, which I'll talk about a little later. But the T factor is essentially, it's like it's an index of your digital learning. So the T factor basically means that you have in-depth skills in certain technologies, whereas you have some lesser skills in terms of some awareness level skills in some other technologies. So this T factor has really revolutionized the way that we do learning in TCS, because it not only gets people competing with each other, it gets the different units competing with each other. So everybody wants to brag about the fact that, I've got a T factor of so and so, etc. So that gamification has really helped us, and it is, of course, being enabled by the platform. But I would like to talk about a couple of human interventions, which I feel is very important and related to the rapid fire we just had. I think we have a great learning culture. So whenever there is any kind of learning drive that is needed, whether it was, digital a few years back, today it's AI, it comes right down from the CEO to the junior most members of the organization. And it's not just talking about it. We also see our leaders participating in those trainings. So there's great role modeling behavior that happens. And that really makes the workforce very excited to learn, because if I see my boss's boss also learning the same thing and getting their hands dirty, I want to also do it, sometimes to look good in front of my boss, but more or less I think it's a great motivator. The other human intervention that I think we've been pretty successful in is creating a very good mentoring framework. So we have this framework where you have trained mentors with a silver, gold, and platinum certification. And people can choose their mentor and get mentored. There's a platform for it. And, I feel it's a great way to actually make our scale work for us, because you can just about find any skill that you want to get mentored in, or any, work related problem, and you can find the mentor in the system. So this is the second point. And the third one is, of course, the talent development team. So I'll just give an example. A couple of years back, I was heading talent development for a 100,000 unit. And we got the goal of upskilling 70,000 people in 7 digital skills in 10 months. So we, of course, gamified it and did everything. But because of the on-ground connect, and mind you, this was a BPO team, so they were not all on the TCS machines, the TCS network. So learning was difficult for them, accessing TCS learning. So it is really due to the on-ground connect and all the different events that we do, that we actually ended up meeting our target in 8 months, right? So I would say that it's a great combination of technology and human intervention, which helps TCS to learn fast and learn at scale.
Adonica, question for you. So we're talking about purpose in this section. It gets used a lot, and it can have varying meaning in a lot of organization. So what does purpose-led learning actually look like inside your organization?
Michael, it's a great and really timely question. And I know we have short time here on this roundtable, but I want to tell a very quick story. Aptiv is, as of April 1st, or I'll say March 31st, a global organization of 200,000 people, a Fortune Global 500 in over 50 countries. As of April 1st, we spun off a significant portion of our business to be a standalone public company. As a result of that, we've, as a leadership team, thought about what is our future as an organization? What is our purpose? What is our mission, our values, and our behaviors? And it was extremely important to clarify that at this really pivotal inflection point for our company's history, because we have a number of subsidiaries under the Aptiv group, and it is clear that our strategy is changing. And so our mission statement, our purpose, our values, and our behaviors needed to be clarified to support that strategy as we move from a traditionally focused on automotive core market into some adjacent markets, including robotics, aerospace and defense, AMRs and drones, etc., really applying our product and our services to these new end markets. So I'm saying all of that to say, like, the question around purpose is so timely for us because we undertook a body of work over the past quarter to redefine our actual mission statement, our values, and our behaviors. And that is extremely connected to learning because through our learning and a series of micro lessons that we are leveraging our most senior leaders, our CEO, our chair, our board, and their leadership teams to teach the business what is our go forward strategy, what is our new mission, our values, and our behaviors. And the purpose that is driving that is so that everyone has not just understanding of our new strategy post the spin, but real connectivity and engagement to it, and are now excited, right? Because where they had maybe not so much clarity around what does this new world of Aptiv look like for us as we go into new markets beyond where we have been in automotive in the past, we now, through learning, are accelerating our strategy and helping our business and all of our individuals within the business to understand what are we doing as a business and how can you be a part of it? So I think purpose-driven learning cannot be more important. It is extremely important that learning is in lockstep with the business's objectives, as I mentioned earlier, and being purpose-driven in what are you looking to teach, connecting it to the overall needs of the business is that true insight that enables learning leaders to then get access to all of the other leaders in the business because they see the connectivity between learning and accomplishing their goals.
Love that. So, Julia, we're going to wrap up with you. So, you, again, working across a lot of organizations on technology adoption. What separates the ones that get it right from the ones that don't?
I do feel that it's primarily driven by the learning leader who takes that on. And so way back when, I'm dating myself, I was at one of the major bank institutions and they were going through a huge technology transformation. And he walked me through what they needed to accomplish. And you know what he told me, and it still resonates with me today. Technology transformation is one thing. You know, have new technologies come across your work desk annually, if not, sometimes more frequently than that. But if the learning leader and leadership that he or she reports to doesn't realize that it's an actual people implementation and not just a software implementation. And we all know way back when large ERP implementations had a dismal success rate, like 50% failure. I don't want to name them, but they all, big ERP implementations. And it really was, I think, the whole, and we voted on it, like the culture of understanding that these software technology is all people projects. And without people understanding what's in it for them and why they need to take and why we're adopting a new technology within that organization, chances are that it's a hard road. You can pick the hard road or the easy road, and understanding and having a leader who supports the fact that they deeply agree with the fact that it's a people implementation more than a technology implementation is where I find organizations do succeed. But we've seen them not. I mean, we jump in when it's been dismal, but we also are part of really wonderful implementations with that kind of attitude. So I have noticed that along the way.
Great insights from all of you. Thank you. Okay, let's continue our journey. And let's go to a live poll and Q&A. So we're going to ask the audience to weigh in on what your single biggest L&D priority is in 2026. So I'll give you a little bit to answer. Okay, let's see what people said. Okay, it looks like almost 2-1 is proving the return on investment and business impact. I would definitely think that that is the single biggest challenge. What does the panelists think? We'll take that as a hard yes. We are out there trying to prove the ROI on learning for sure and proving out that ROI. I want to leave some time to answer some questions that have been in the chat in a second. Let's keep going. And let's try a quick exercise with folks. And this is where we're going to bring back to the panel and ask them a really interesting question. It's a one-word answer. Can't expand on the explanation. And then we're going to take some questions from the audience I'll be throwing out to you. Let's just go around really quick. What's the one word you want every learning leader on this webinar to take into the rest of 2026? So I'm just going to call everyone out. So I'm going to start with Julia.
I have to think long and hard about this one, Michael, but I have
Hey,
the
plenty
word.
of time. You ready?
Do I tell you now?
You got to tell me.
Out loud to everyone?
Out loud to everyone.
Promise you won't laugh?
Promise I won't laugh. I may be smiling, so don't confuse that with a laugh.
I like the word confluence.
Oh, what a great word.
I like it. And I
Ooh,
like
that's a mic drop, actually.
significance. Oh, thank you. I like the significance. So many layers to that word in
Sure
our
is.
space at this time. Just
Love
saying.
that.
Thanks.
Poushali, what's your one word?
My word would be balance.
Love that. Alexandra?
Rebel.
Oh, I love
Oh, with a cause. I love that. Adonica?
Courage.
it.
Courage.
Mm-hmm.
We visited that earlier. Love to see that come back. And Kelly?
My word would have been deliberate, but I think Amoy put it better in the I hope that's the way we pronounce this name, but I think intentional is probably what I mean. So thank you for that, Amoy.
I like that. Let's talk about some of the words that got thrown out from the audience. We have system, elevate, trust, alignment, courage, engagement, purpose, intentional. Always thank you, Amoy. And then impact. So I think those are some really interesting choices. Oh, someone else put in listen. That's a great one. Okay, so let's take some of the questions that folks have been asking, kind of held them to the end to throw out to the panelists. So we're going to do a couple questions, and then unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up. There was one comment saying, we wish we had made this webinar longer. I agree with that too. There's so many great insights. We could be doing this as a half-day workshop. So one question that was asked by Jennifer is she'd like to know more about gamification practice and learning. Who wants to weigh in on that? And so what she's getting at is rewarding learning and promoting the right behavior. Any
So
thoughts?
yeah, I did speak about it as to what we were doing in what we are doing in TCS. So yeah, I think as you know, learning leaders, we have sometimes debated whether it is right to reward somebody for learning because you are anyway expected to do that, right? But I think what we have seen is that today we are all dealing with multi-generational workforces, right? With Gen Z and millennials in our workforce, and this healthy competition has actually given us a lot of benefits. So gamification, I don't know whether the question is about how do we implement gamification, I think I covered that a little, which is basically that, with learning, you get points, and those points can be redeemed for either some kind of reward, or it could be a recognition also. Even recognition works in many, many cultures where people like to display a certificate or a badge or something. So um, I don't know whether I answered the question, but that's
No,
from my
excellent,
point of
excellent
view.
answer, Rochelle. I think we're going to finish up with this as a last one because it's interesting. So I'm just going to throw it out to anyone who wants to answer. What are your major development initiatives? So in essence, like what are you focusing on for development initiatives? And what are you trying to solve or create an opportunity based on having those initiatives? Anyone want to weigh in on that one?
I'll jump in, Michael. I'm actually amazed. I'll give you an award because I don't think I heard the buzzword that I've been hearing every single meeting for the last year plus, which is AI. You really were able to steer us around that, but I think that is truly a focus area. I'm sure it is for all of my colleagues here. With regard to how do we unlock AI, right? So we are on the process of in the journey rather of unlocking AI access for our enterprise. And there is a number of implications that has for learning and skill development. And so that's going to be the focus for us over the next year plus, I'm sure. And really the ultimate objective is helping our colleagues advance their productivity in a meaningful way that again accomplishes business objectives. So I've been really, I think, courageous internally to push back where there has been excitement around let's just roll a tool or let's roll a training for a tool, though we don't have access to the tool. And let's be really clear that we need to make sure that we're not just teaching for the sake of teaching in this space, but really ensuring that we're delivering value to people as they learn about how to use AI to do their work better.
Perfect.
Can I
Okay,
just
Ivy.
add?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure.
Yeah, sorry. Um, See, but I know that AI is the big hype and buzz, etc. And yes, it is very helpful. But I would also like to focus on how not to make AI think for us. I think that is happening quite a bit today, where people have stopped thinking. They think AI is going to do everything for them. They've stopped learning. I think that is something that everybody should be thinking of also while enjoying the benefits of AI.
Excellent.
If I can add,
Okay.
uh, is that okay? Okay,
I'm sorry.
may I weigh in?
Sure.
Very quickly? I think Pushali, I think you're right, but I think it's also for us is that for VML, we're on the other side of the AI curve. And so for us, what it's become is really about how do we stop thinking about AI and go back to how do you build trust? How do you do how do you do the human work of being able to connect with other people? So I would say that a lot of the work, a lot of the development initiatives that we have right now are really about, how do you listen? How do you understand when you're being empathetic? How do you understand what to do with your power? Those kinds of things. So for us, AI was an existential question for us. In a creative field, what it can do to us is it can put us rapidly out of business. So it's for us, it's about being human first.
Okay. Ivy?
Thank you, Michael. I'm thrilled to share that Sarah Zarsky has won a complimentary Excellence in Action program submission. Congratulations, Sarah. We'll be reaching out shortly with more details.
And back to you, Julie. I want to thank you. I think you were able to host and sponsor a very exciting and interactive webinar. So I want to thank the panelists, but also thought you want to leave a couple closing thoughts?
Well, I echo those sentiments, Michael. The panelists today I want to be when I grow up. I mean, they're all brilliant, articulate, amazing people. And I look forward to hopefully having another webinar in the near future with the same team. Really thankful to all of you, wonderful people. And thanks everyone for joining us online. It was our pleasure to host this webinar. And we're very excited about the future and what it entails as we rebrand under the Liberate name. And we hope that we can work with you in the future at some point, really attain your goals and come to a confluence of achievements in your year, this year and next year and beyond. We always look forward to seeing you, Michael, at Brandon Hall events, and we hope that we can meet other folks that attended today's session at future Brandon Hall events. So, ladies, thank you so much. It was wonderful. You inspire me. Michael, thanks for holding down the fort for us and guiding the ship.
I certainly learned a lot, as I always do, especially from a group of experts like yourself. So, Alexandra, Poushali, Adonica, Kelly, Julia, thank you so much for joining. We should have done it. We'll have to maybe plan a part two to this, have
Love
an
it. Love
encore
it.
approach. But to everyone out in our audience today, thanks so much. We know your time is very valuable. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to speaking with you on another event, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye, everyone.